Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, and freaks of nature of all ages. My name is Brian Bad Hippie Jackson, and welcome to my channel. And welcome back to Let's Build Treasures of the Dead in UDK. Now in the last episode, this is episode 12, so in episode 11, when we were setting up, let's go ahead and go to unlit real quick. When we were setting up this switch and goddamn updates, get the fuck off my screen. This door and that camera, I told you that I was going to put a fire trap in this room, and I have done exactly that. Now before we get into how the fire trap works and what it does, I would just like to say that as cool as these motherfuckers right here look, and they do look cool. Let's go down to the other one. It's got a little light beside it. They do look cool. They're pretty damn awesome. They really don't match the consistency of this room or this map. They look really awesome, but they're not really what we need for this map. So what I'm going to do is just leave them in there for right now and use them as placeholders. And then I will either make or find another model to use in their place, which does match the consistency of this room a little bit better. But let me go ahead and pull up my Kismet, pull up my fire traps, open up that fire trap, and that is our Kismet for this particular fire trap. Double click on my Matinee. I'm going to minimize the fire trap, and then I'm going to pull this way the fuck down here so we can't really see the timeline or anything, and get it out of the way of the Matinee, and just go ahead and stop and click play and let you see basically what that Matinee is going to do. And that's basically what it's going to do. Let's go ahead and pull this back up, take it back to 0, close it down. Let's open this window here like this, and I'm going to go ahead and go to unlit real quick. I've got everything built. And we're going to go over to just before this checkpoint. Yeah, because if I get killed, I'm going to go back to this checkpoint. So I've kind of sort of got to run through all this crap first before that door will open. And then we'll demonstrate how it works and how it kills you. So we're going to right click, play from here. And of course, we checkpoint there. Then we can go up there and open a couple of doors if we want, get some treasure. There's some treasure up there. But what we really need to do is go through here, open that, go through there, open that, bypass these blood walls. Go. Gonna open that. Open our teleporter. We don't need that, but we'll pick it up anyways. Now we've teleported into this room. We open that. And now that door is open. And if we die, we're going to go back to that checkpoint right there. So we're really close to the room. It's a good place for the checkpoint. I moved the checkpoint that was here, but oop, already activated it. What we've got is a trigger right here that will activate the fire trap. And the fire trap has a dynamic physics volume around each one of them. All I did was use the torch and then sized it up to a draw scale of 4 instead of 1 so that it shoots back and forth. And I probably need to raise it up just a little bit. It looks like it's a little low. And if you get hit by it, it will kill you instantly. So we respawn back at the checkpoint. Now there's nothing going on yet until we hit this trigger. We hit that trigger, it activates the fire trap, and then we have to avoid the fire trap, open that gate, avoid the fire trap, go through this gate, come around here, and then when we hit this switch to open this gate, it will close it'll open that gate. It will close this gate, and it will turn off that fire trap. So and it looks like that's set on a infinite use, and I don't need it on an infinite use. So from this door to the next checkpoint, there's not going to be anything that will kill us because of our previous checkpoint and the fact that this gate is now locked behind us. So if we die before the next checkpoint, we'll be stuck in that area and won't be able to progress. Just those are the little things you need to keep in mind with level design. So this is kind of going to be like kind of in a reward area where we've made it past some nasty stuff. We've made it past a difficult fire trap. So we've got a couple of rooms that won't have any bad guys or lethal things. And then when we get up in here, I'm going to change the way that door opens. It needs to swing in. This switch, which is not active yet, is going to activate that door. We've moved our checkpoint to right there. So that door will open, and this room in here is where we're going to build the fire trap, so I can show you how we did that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Kismet for the fire trap real quick. So what we have is 2 emitters. So we're going to right click, select emitter 3 in level, go to, and there we go. And that's the first emitter right there, and I've got it kind of inside the wall. The second emitter, you can see the little arrow for the torch right there, is right there in, or selecting level is right there. We've got 2 static meshes. Don't do that. We've got 2 static meshes that our fire is coming out of. But like I said, those are just going to be placeholders until I can find something better, because as cool as they are, they would work much better for something like level 1 than for something like this. This should have electric lights and machinery, and I am going to add machinery. So we need that fire coming off of some sort of machinery. In something like level 1, those would work better. Then we also have 2 dynamic physics volumes. Let's select that in the level, and I believe it's over here. And all we did was copy and drag off a copy of the dynamic physics volume around the blood wall, and then we brought it over, drug off a copy, we resized it so that it pretty much fits around our fire. We didn't change the height because I just wanted to make sure that it would hit us no matter what. And instead of animating the physics volumes independently like we did on our other traps, what I did instead, and I might go back into level 1 and do this again just to make the animations easier and make sure that everything coincides with each other better, I simply put in an attach to actor and attach the physics volume to the emitter directly, so that I didn't have to do extra animations for the physics volumes. Those are attached directly to the emitters. So the way this works is when the player spawns, we have a player spawn right there. We don't want these emitters working immediately, because what has the tendency to happen is they burn through the roof a little bit, and even if they don't burn through the roof a little bit, you can still see the smoke from the torch emitter coming through the roof, and we don't want that. So when the player spawns, we brought in a toggle hidden, and so that will hide both of these emitters. Now when we hit this trigger right here, which if we, let's drop that just a little bit. If we look down at the bottom, that is trigger 12. So right here, that's a touch trigger. When we touch trigger 12, it will activate our matinee and it will unhide the emitters. Also, that is the trigger that will attach the physics volumes to the emitters. So the player spawns, the emitters are hidden. We touch trigger 12, the matinee activates, the emitter or the physics volumes are attached to the emitters, and we unhide the emitters so that the animation works. We hit this switch, it opens this door. We go around here, we hit this switch, and if we grab that and look at the bottom, that is trigger 21. So trigger 21 will stop the matinee and re-hide the emitters. Trigger 7 is our checkpoint. So if we die, when we respawn at the checkpoint, it will hide the emitters and make sure that the matinee is stopped. Back up. And then all we have to do is run around the corner. The door will already be open. We hit the trigger. The matinee starts again. The physics volumes are attached and active and all of that kind of good stuff. So that's basically what we've got set up and how we've got it going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to go ahead and build another fire trap in this room. And we're going to do it kind of interesting because in the original Treasures of the Dead, what I did was this room I had what I called divine hazards and divine artifacts. And the divine artifacts were kept in divine chests. So this room had a key for a divine chest to get a divine artifact so we could get past a divine hazard. Now I don't think I'm going to put divine hazards in this, so what I'm going to do instead, the other thing this room had in it was a butt ton of treasure pickups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put treasure pickups running down the walls on the outside of each wall, and then I'm going to put treasure pickups running down the center of each wall, or running down the center, and then in between those treasure pickups is where I'm going to put my two fire traps that work exactly the same as the others. So to get all of the treasure, what's going to happen is when you go in this room, there's going to be a trigger just inside the door which will close and lock the door behind us, and instead of having a key for the divine treasure or the divine artifact, we're going to have the switch that will reopen the door, and then to get all of the treasure in the room you have to navigate and avoid the fire traps. So the first thing we're going to do is bring in those static meshes. So we're going to go to all assets, we're going to select static mesh, and we're going to search torch, and this is the one we were using, so we're going to bring one in right there. And it's way too big, so we're going to go to draw scale and we're going to hit 0.25 and bring that draw scale down. Now we're going to go to actor and now we're going to zoom down here. We're going to hit rotate and we're going to rotate this bad boy by 90 degrees. We're going to snug him up against the wall, and he needs to move over to there. Now we're going to hit Alt and drag off a copy. And this one needs to be sitting right there. Okay. Now we're going to select that one as well, hit Alt, drag off a copy. We're going to pull these guys up to the other side of the room. We're going to snug them up on that wall, and just to make life a little bit easier, we're going to rotate them one at a time so we don't get any funky interactions with the rotation. And that's 180 degrees on each. Come on, bring me up my mouse. There we go. So now we have those dudes in, but they're a bit too low in their positioning, so we need to bring them up to, it looks like, 2 squares below that line. So let's select that guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy. Zoom out and then bring them up right there so they're even up with where the other ones were. Okay. We don't have to do anything special to those. They're not going to move. They're not going to do anything weird. They're not going to interact. They're not going to be a part of the Kismet or the Matinee in any fashion. So the next thing we need to do is bring in our emitters. So we're going to open our content browser again, and we're going to go ahead and select particle systems. That's going to bring up our torch, which is what we're using. We're going to bring it in right there. Let's close that down. Go to actor. And we want to bring that up to where it's right about centered with the mouth of that thing. And then we're going to take it back into the wall a little bit so that when we increase the draw scale to 4, just like that, it's not hanging out of the wall. Okay, so we still need to bring it back just a tad, and there we go, just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and do something else to this emitter. Now, we know that when we bring in a static mesh and we want to animate that static mesh, that mesh needs to be converted from a static mesh to a mover, which, of course, looking through the Kismet that we've done before, we know that that makes it an interpolation actor, an interp actor. We need to do the same thing to this emitter, or it's not going to move properly. There's a good chance that it'll get jumpy, or there's going to be unexpected pauses in its movement path. So we need to convert it to an interpolation actor. Now, but we don't have a convert in the right click. So what we're going to do is hit F4, go to our properties, and we're going to scroll down to movement. So the primitive, I've got the primitive open because that's for location. We're going to go down to movement, and in movement underneath rotation there is physics, priority, parameters, actors, current physics mode. By default the emitters don't have physics, so we're going to drop that down and go to phys interpolating. Now that is an interpolating actor, which is pretty much the same thing as changing a static mesh to a mover. We've changed the emitter with no physics property to an interpolating actor. So we're going to hold Alt and we're going to drag off a copy, and we're going to put that right there behind that other mouth doohickey. Now we're going to hold Control so that we've got them both selected, and we're going to drag off a copy of both of them and bring them down to the other side of the room. And set them just inside the wall. Okay. Now with that done, we're going to need a dynamic physics volume. Now we've already learned a couple of times how to build a dynamic physics volume that will do damage. So we're not going to build one from scratch. We're going to do it the easy way. We're going to go over here to where we have these blood walls. We're going to grab one of these. We're going to hold Alt. We're going to drag off a copy. And we're going to drag that copy over into this room. Now we're going to place that copy pretty much as close to center on the emitter as we can, but we really don't need to worry about it that much. Actually, we can put it right here if we want to, which might actually be a good idea. Let's go to Actor. Because that emitter is going to be about the width of that mouth, so that would be a good place to put this to know how to size it. Now we're not going to worry about sizing the height. We're going to leave it at 256. That's no big deal, but we do want our width brought down so that it doesn't take up all that space. We want it to be about the width of our emitter. So we're going to bring that down to right about there, maybe a little bit wider. That looks pretty good right there. And then we're going to bring that down, and we did non-uniform scale. There we go. That looks good to me. And then we're going to hit F4 to get into the properties. It's enabled by default. We're going to leave that. It's pain causing. We're going to leave that. It does 100 points of damage per second. We're going to leave that. We want these fire traps to kill us as soon as we hit them, but we don't want it to do crushing damage. We want it to do fire damage, and this will actually set us on fire. Now sometimes it's hard to see, but fire damage will actually set you on fire. So now that we've got that done, we're going to back it up to just inside the wall. We're going to hold Alt, drag off a copy, and make copies of our damage zones. Now we're going to select them both, hold Alt, drag off a copy, and take it to the other side of the room so that we can put it up here with these. Alright, now that we've got that done, we're not going to worry about the door yet. We're just worrying about, because you guys already know how to do door switches. I don't need to go over the Kismet on how to make this door switch open this door, and then how to make a touch trigger to close this door, and then how to make another trigger down here to open this door. All we're learning how to do today is make this fire trap. Alright, so the first thing we want to do in Kismet is we're going to go into our fire traps. We're going to right click, we're going to do a new event, and we're going to do a player spawned. We're going to set that player spawned to a max trigger count of 0, because if we get killed and we have to go back to the checkpoint, then we want to be able to make sure that everything functions again. Okay, now we're going to go new action, toggle, and we're going to bring in a regular toggle, but we're not going to target it to anything just yet, because if I go ahead and create variables with these emitters for that toggle, I'm going to end up with duplicates of my variables in my Kismet, because when I create my Matinee, it's going to automatically create those variables for the Matinee when I go to animate those emitters. So instead of creating multiple variables for those emitters, I'm just going to go ahead and create the Matinee, and then I will use the variables that are automatically created for the Matinee to run that toggle visibility on them. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that and get those emitters created. So we're going to select that emitter. We're going to bring this Kismet up. We do need a trigger to fire this off with, but we're just not going to worry about that trigger doing anything to the door. We're just going to build the trap, and we're going to trap ourselves in this room. So we're going to go to Add Actor, Add Trigger. We're going to go down to this trigger, and we're going to set it right about there. That looks centered up pretty good. We're going to hit F4, and we're going to change the size to 128 so that it fills up the entire doorway, and it is absolutely freaking impossible to miss it. So we're just going to pull it out right about. May as well just go ahead and put it even with that door, because as soon as we enter and hit that trigger, we want that door to close. So we have to remember that, so that when we do the animation on the door opens out, since it does have collision, and when we hit that trigger, it'll close by coming in. If we open it in and we hit that trigger, since it has a collider on it, then there's a good chance when it rolls in, it'll hit us and push us back out the door. Okay, so we need to make sure that we know. Actually, let's just go ahead and open that bitch up right now. In case we get killed, we can respawn. Alright, that'll work. We'll just open that up since there's nothing on it yet. So that trigger is what we're going to use to activate those emitters. So let's bring our Kismet up and create a new event using trigger 28. That's going to be a touch. Right there, and we only want that to, that's going to be interesting, because yeah, we can go ahead and set that to 0. We'll go ahead and set that to 0, because once those emitters start, all that does is it's going to start the Matinee. So if the Matinee is already playing and we hit the trigger, it's not going to do anything. The Matinee is already playing. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and create our Matinee. We're going to right click, new Matinee. We're going to select this first emitter. We're going to open it up, and then we're going to make it move. And we already know how to do that. So I'm only going to do the movement on one emitter, and then I'm going to pause because we're already pushing 25 minutes. So we're going to do new empty group. Call this fire_01. Then we're going to add a new movement track, and we want it to take about 2.5 seconds to do the entirety of the room. So let's minimize that. Let's pull this over here. And we're at 2.5 seconds. So we're going to take our slider, move it to 2.5, hit enter, right click, set time, make sure we're at 2.5, and then we're going to take this emitter and we're going to run it straight down so that it is pretty much even up with where that other emitter is down at the bottom. And if we zoom out and hit play, there goes the fire. Okay, and then what we're going to do is the same thing with the rest of them, and we're going to make these come up as well. So I'm going to pause it and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we've got all four emitters animated and moving. Now we need to put our sound in, and the sound we're going to use, we're just going to go ahead and add sound cues to that torch search, and we want to use the torch start 01 cue. There we go. So with that selected, we're going to go into our Matinee. We're going to right click, add new empty group, sound, new soundtrack, and we don't need multiple sounds because all these emitters are timed exactly even. I mean exactly even. What I did was I animated the first one going from up here to down there, then I right clicked, copy track. Then I got the second emitter going right there. I only put fire in, and then I right click and I paste group or track, and that gives me that movement, which is exactly the same as the first one. Then I did the same thing for the bottom ones down here coming the other direction. So with that soundtrack selected, we're going to hit enter, and that's going to give us our fire cue. And if we hit play, then there we go. Now we don't have looping set yet in our Kismet, so to loop it, there we go. That looks nice. Alright, and we've got our sound going. So that is the Matinee. That's all we have to do for the Matinee. It's done. Now what we need to do is, now that we have all of our emitters in, so when the player spawns, it toggles the emitters off. So we're going to take this target and we're going to run it straight down to all four of these emitters so that none of those emitters are showing when the player spawns. Alright, when we touch that trigger up here, right there, to activate the Matinee, we also want to unhide our emitters. So we're going to, wait a minute, that shouldn't be turn on, that should be turn off. So we're going to toggle those off, and then when we touch that, we're going to toggle them back on. Now we need to make sure that our dynamic physics volumes are attached to the proper emitters. So this physics volume is going to attach to emitter 7. So we're going to create 4 attached to actors and then 4 variables for our physics volumes. So we're going to do new action, actor, attach to actor, and knowing that we need 3 more of them, we're going to select that one, Control C, Control V, move that up, Control V, move that up, Control V, move that up. Let's go ahead and hold Alt Control, drag a box over those 4, move them out just a little bit. Okay, now with that one selected, we're going to go ahead and create our variable right here, physics volume 7. The attachment is physics volume 7. The target is emitter 7. Okay, and that needs to happen as soon as we touch that trigger. So we're just going to go ahead and put that in, and then we're going to chain our in and out on the rest of them. This target will be emitter 6, this target will be emitter 4, this target will be emitter 5. Okay, so fire 2 is emitter 6 right there. New variable, that's the attachment. Emitter 4, that's the emitter we want right there, so that's the attachment. New object variable, and then that emitter, right click, new object variable will be attached to emitter 5. Now all of our emitters are animated and they all have dynamic physics volumes that will kill us. Now the other thing we need to do is we're going to select this trigger for our checkpoint. We're going to bring it in since it's already in unlimited use, but we're going to go ahead and right click, new event using trigger 15, touched. We're going to go ahead and set that to 0 so we can use it over and over again. If we get killed, we're going to go back to that checkpoint. So when we touch that checkpoint, we want to turn off the emitters and we want to stop the matinee. And then when we walk through the door and touch trigger 28, then it will fire everything back up again. So let's go ahead and get right about here and play from here. Of course, we're going to have to rebuild lights. So we've checkpointed. All of our emitters are hidden. We can't see them until they activate. We hit that trigger. Boom. There they go. So to collect the we forgot to, I know what we forgot to do. Fire traps, matinee. We need to check looping on matinee. Alright. So we checkpoint. Now they activate. And to collect the treasure, you've got to like run down the side and avoid them. Oh, and I got killed. And see them fade away there? That was from them being hidden, but sometimes it takes a little bit for them to fade. Now they're going to start again. And then we get into the middle. Oh, crap. And we want to run straight up the middle to get the rest of this treasure. And then we're going to put a switch on the wall there to open the door so we can get back out. And then we run up this wall to get this treasure. Oh, and I got killed again. But that's okay, I just opened the door. And there's my dead body. But that is how we make a fire trap, which I think is pretty cool. Let's toggle the flashlight off and see if we can actually see ourselves catch on fire. Oh, it knocked us through the floor, and yes, we are on fire. I kind of like that. And there we go. And that is the way we build a fire trap. And I'm going to go ahead and off camera, I'll get all the doors and stuff set up, and I'll fix any bugs that I find. But for the most part, that fire trap works really well. And if we start over here, I'm going to go ahead and risk it without the checkpoint. Play from here. We activate that one. There we go. Made it safely past that. Then this will shut that door, keeping us from going back, and stop that other fire trap from operating. Then we have just plain treasure pickups in here. It's like a reward area for being persistent and getting this far, even though this is only level 2. Why the hell not? Then this will open that door. This, when it's set up, will open this door, but we've already got this door open. Then that will activate the fire trap in that room, which we have to navigate through it to pick up the treasure, reopen our door, and be able to progress through the level. There we go. Please do not forget to check the links in the description below for the Disabled American Veterans and the Wounded Warriors Project. Let's please help support our veterans. If you liked the video, then hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends and family to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Please don't forget to leave me a comment. They are always welcome, good, bad, or somewhere in between. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate your love, your time, your support. You guys are awesome. I love every one of you. Thank you very much. And until next time, this is Brian Bad Hippie Jackson saying peace, love, clean underwear, and happy gaming.